Oh my god! Quick!
Okay, so here we are at the seahorse statue. This is a usual meeting spot for us because it's right by where most of the guys live. The palm trees in the background you can see there, they're pretty much on the beach. This place is called Park Lane Harbour. It's a couple of hours from Shenzhen. It's a great spot to taking on a bit of fuel, always like to have a bit of go juice. Now, I've neglected to video the ride in between here and there because now we've got to the open countryside. This is the part that we start to enjoy a lot more. So here we are, cracking on away from the coastal road back into the delta.
Eagle-eyed viewers and listeners may recognise this road from previous videos.
It's a really nice spot. It really opens up between the mountain ranges, and I was really happy this early in the morning. Just look at the sky, it's just pure blue skies from horizon to horizon. Really pleasant to ride along. And here we are pulling over because we're coming up to a junction here. So whenever there's a turn that could be taken wrong by one of our party, the lead rider usually tended to pull over to let everyone catch up and regroup, make sure we all, in this case, turn right. Here we are going under an underpass, always a fun event when you're riding on a bike. We've kind of discussed that before. Not sure why, it just is, I don't know, it's noteworthy for some reason to go underneath a road or through a tunnel. This is another classic one where I've left the GoPro recording forever because I wasn't sure whether it was on or not. Of course, this one is a GoPro 5, I want to say Hero Black 5, I can't remember. It's got the screen on the front to tell you whether it's recording or not, but where I have it mounted, it's not always easy to kind of crane your neck round, especially with a helmet on, to see whether it's on or off, so sometimes I mess that up. So this is this road is marked as a Y road. I forget the number, but it's Y and then a number. And you can see it's single track, single file, and going through orchards. So you know we couldn't keep a good speed up, but it's really pleasant riding through here. You see lots of little farmers' shacks and different fruit trees growing on either side. I think this is lychees we're riding through now, and this is the kind of riding that I really like. Here we are in a petrol station that we found. So here we are, the major conurbation that we rode through, about to take a big right, so we didn't want to take that turn and not have it follow. Often the roads around here are not that complicated, there's not too many lefts and rights, but they all look the same, especially in a city. They all look the same side road, the same dimensions of the junction. Oh, this is great. So now we've got close to the ping on the map, like the spot on the map that we'd been shown by our mystery informant, telling us where to go, where was an interesting spot. And we've pulled off in this little market town, again waiting for everyone to catch up. And it was a really busy, interesting little junction. Lots of people driving left, right and all over the place. So we had a little nosy around while we were waiting. Here's Jamie waiting on his bike. You can see he's got the same style bike as I have, only his is intact and hasn't crashed and been repaired with a lot of black tape. So by this point, after our amusements at the shop and looking at dried pig livers, it had obviously incited a hunger in Ethan. As previously discussed, he is a gigantic beast of a man who needs fuel regularly. So we stopped for breakfast, and we had found our way to the river at this point. I think we'd actually just rode over a bridge across the river that we'd been looking for. And our instructions on how to find this interesting and beautiful place were to go to the river and look around. So it seemed a sensible junction to, having found the river, pull over and grab some food. And we found this place, and it had quite interesting furniture in the garden. We could sit out in the sun, and it was a cool day but pleasant in the sun. So here we are, kind of just waiting for our noodles to arrive. Jamie shared some of his Malaysian coffee, which was lovely, and the noodles were satisfactory. So after having all fueled up and being good to go, we set off on the search. All we had to go on were 2 or 3 photos that we'd been sent. After cruising the river for several kilometres, we came across what I can only describe as a dam reminiscent of a 007 James Bond movie. It looked as if some dastardly villain should be launching a plot for world domination from the top. But it was a nice spot. The river was wide and lazy there, so we knew it wasn't the spot we were looking for. You can see we got to the foot of the dam and came across a gate. And then just beyond the gate there was a small kind of door or a hut. And there was a security guard there drinking. It must have been about 10:30 or 11 in the morning. He was having a good drink. I guess his job is not too hectic. Anyway, he pointed us in the general direction. He couldn't recognise the photos we showed him, but he did say that there was a beautiful spot, and in that direction, that way down the road. And we ended up at the top of the dam, where there was another security guard asking us what we could do and telling us that we had to stop. We kind of hung around there for a couple of minutes, just taking a few videos, kind of taking stock. I think trying to decide what to do, because we really run out of clues. That's when something interesting happened. Ethan pulled over to investigate a path on the side of the road. We'd seen several that kind of just head up quite steeply from the side of the road and head off into the bushes, back towards, kind of in the direction of the dam or the lake that presumably was beyond the dam. And we took one. And as you know, quite often mentioned on these videos and amongst us when we're on these little adventures, is that the real treasures, the real thing that makes these trips interesting is the discoveries, the things you stumble across and didn't expect, that are, you know, pleasant. And this is definitely one of those. This path, we all commented on how this is the kind of hiking trail we like, rather than a landscaped or paved path with steps. This is more of a natural path that's been eroded by use, and it led us to past the top of the dam and then to the lake beyond. And yeah, the views were quite spectacular. Yeah, it's just some really nice views, really calm, peaceful place. As is quite common in these reservoirs, there's a boat or skiff or two at the side, which one would assume is used by some sort of caretaker or landscaper. And we thought possibly it's part of the service to look after the tombs. As I mentioned, we came across a lot of tombs around the edge, and we just explored a small proportion of the edge of the lake, and we wondered whether maybe these boats were used to ferry people back and forth. My son has recently been very fond of copying movie quotes that I feed to him, so here I'm telling Ethan about that and asking him to reenact one with me.
Not pass!
How about this? This one looks okay. Take two. We're going for this large clod of clay. I had to go again, didn't I? I had to try again because I switched the camera off mid-lob. So here we are with a lump of dirt. Oh, it's magical, isn't it? There's something about that. Something about that that's very, very satisfying. And here we can see Ethan having a crack at the old lobbing a stone into the lake. Brilliant. I think Ethan really was the leader of taking us into the proper, like, rugged mountain man type feeling and ethos that we ended up with on that day. Because he was the one that picked up big sticks to use as kind of canes and walking sticks, and he was the one that would grab huge lumps of clay or stones and loft them into the lake just to be a caveman. And we all thought that was brilliant and joined in. So we had a good kind of explore around the reservoir, but we decided it was time to crack on. So we went back to the bikes, gathered up all our gear and set off back down the hill. We ended up driving through some beautiful countryside again. I really do like riding along those small roads in the open country. But soon enough we ended up back in a slightly built up area where they'd constructed this brand new kind of riverside path / small road, and it seemed just too nice a opportunity, too nice a ride along the river there not to take it. So off we went. And we ended up riding along until that path kind of ebbed and disappeared into nothingness. Well, it was, I guess, kind of a weir thing. Perhaps people may have crossed the river there at some point in the past, but we didn't fancy it. So at this point, we'd kind of decided to call it a day, almost. We'd looked on the map on our phones and we saw that there was one small stretch of road that we could find, that we were close to, that would continue along this river, along the side of the river for a short stretch. And we kind of said, listen guys, it's getting, we're into the afternoon now, let's go along that road, see what's there, and if that's not it, let's just head home. We thought we'd take another stab in the dark and just ask for directions. We just asked him, we showed him the pictures we had that Pavel had given us, and he recognised them. So with renewed vigour we set off for Whitehorse, the name of the village, that has just these beautiful river formations, and there's a Whitehorse mountain as well, which apparently has some great hiking on it. So we set off all enthused again to see what we could discover. And we eventually, again after asking for directions successfully for the third time today, which is just a miracle, we parked up halfway up this hill at a dead end by some old abandoned buildings and followed yet another natural path. Well, perhaps not natural, it's probably man-made, but it's not paved, no steps. And this is what we really came for. This is when we knew we were in the right spot. This kind of riverbed full of huge pebbles and gigantic boulders. That was very close to the pictures we had seen and we had been looking for, and we were starting to get quite excited. I really liked the idea of hiking along the riverbed, you know, rock hopping and jumping, and really engaging and interesting hiking there. And we were really happy to find that the atmosphere and the feel of the place had just continued the calm and peaceful and pleasant aura from the reservoir we'd found, but it had just turned it up to 11. Just the babbling brook, the trickling stream, the beautiful skies, the seemingly purposefully placed clouds that just made the whole place, you know, postcard beautiful. Really nice. So arriving at this place, of course, was majestic. This beautiful blue lake and rock formations. But of course, seeing it wasn't enough, we had to jump in, because what else are you going to do with a big rock next to a big pool? You jump in. And if you're wondering what the water temperature was, it was or about that. I basically couldn't speak after I jumped in there. But like a good sauna, like a good Scandinavian sauna, I went in 3 times, and each time it got easier. Each time the temperature is less of a shock. And it was really enjoyable. Felt very refreshed after that.
That is refreshing. Ready?
So that's it for today. Thanks again. Peace out. Like and subscribe. Do like and do subscribe so that you can feed the hole in my soul. Goodbye.